Hello and welcome to Discovering Grayslake, unveiling the stories and people that make our town so unique. I'm your host, David Wool, and I'm thrilled to bring you this new podcast that explores fascinating stories and experiences of local business owners and community leaders, right here where we call home. Grayslake Rehabilitation Center is a community-based private practice physical therapy provider. Do you know they have 13 clinical providers with various levels of specialties, including orthopedics, sports, neurology, vestibular, geriatrics, pelvic floor, and aquatic? What? Did I just say they have a pool? Well, they do, and it's the largest indoor warm water pool in Lake County, featuring 2 underwater treadmills and swim currents. And recently added clinical treatment specialties, in layman's terms, shockwave. They have both radial and focus units that are the newest tool in regenerative medicine, available to everyone. They pride themselves on the most current and up-to-date specialized care to keep you moving. If you're looking for physical therapy, make sure to see our friends at Grayslake Rehabilitation. Are you looking for a photographer in Grayslake for weddings, headshots, product photography? Well, look no further. Visit Valen Studios, formerly located right on Center Street, and now has moved about 1.5 miles down the road, but they're still here in Grayslake. So if you're looking for a photographer for any of those services, make sure to contact Steve right away or check out his website at valenstudios.com. That's VALEN Studios, plural.com. Enjoy the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. I am at Agora Co-working on the corner of Center Street and Atkinson, and they are so kind to let me to record from here. Yes, and I have a feeling that this is going to be an extremely serious interview. Yes, I am with Zee Lacson. Zee, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so what rock have I been living underneath that I haven't met you before?
I'm very secretive, and I live in the shadows.
You do. She definitely doesn't live in the shadows. I need to jump right in because we have so much to cover today. First of all, thank you for meeting with me. I just was on Facebook and I saw that I missed one of the coolest things that was out there, and it was called Focus on Grayslake. Is that what it's called?
It is, yes. Focus on Grayslake. It's like the visual representation of what you're doing.
Great. So I stole it from you in an audio version.
I like that. Let's have that on record.
Right. Exactly. I admit to nothing. It was not me. It was the one-armed man. Okay. So tell me about Focus on Grayslake. It sounds like, and how does it come about?
Oh, well, 2020 was Grayslake's 125th year. And on that year, I thought, it would be a fun project to interview 125 people for the 125th year. And I was thinking it would be like a small town Humans of New York.
Okay.
Because it was simple. Every time you go anywhere, like let's say you go to Something's Brewing, you will automatically talk to somebody, have a conversation, meet somebody new, and learn something about them or Grayslake.
Yes.
So I thought this is going to be simple. It's like, 3 to 4 people a week. It'll be easy. And then COVID hit.
Oh, nice timing.
And then come March, nobody's talking to me.
So 125, and then you get a pandemic.
Then I get a pandemic. However, that year was a very epic year, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the many things that happened that year that would not have happened otherwise. We had Black Lives Matter happen that year.
Yes.
That was the first year that we had that, not the Pride Parade, but the Pride Drive that happened then. So there were all these things that happened, and I thought it was going to be just a year specific for Grayslake's 125th, but it's a turning point year for Grayslake all around.
Yeah.
And because they decided to do 125 plus 1, I just kept on going because I don't have my 125 people anyway.
Right.
And I thought this would be fun. I'll take pictures, I'll interview them, and there wasn't nothing particularly I wanted to know from them. It's kind of like how you do your podcasts.
Sure.
You just get to know the person.
Right, because I've had podcast people on and I have known nothing about them.
Like this one.
I don't even know who you are. So thank God we're sitting down here. We're not even going to record this. I just want to find out about you. Okay, so I'm not sorry to interrupt you. So you're going to interview these people. So A, how did you pick them? And B, did you just sit down with a coffee shop? Did you call them? Or you said you took photos of them, so you met them in person.
So, yes, I met everybody in person. I had my camera with me, and a lot of it was serendipity. The whole point was they're people I'd meet in the street. They're people that I've never met, and suddenly I meet them. And some people I wanted to ask because I knew that their stories were very interesting or very pivotal to Grayslake. And I didn't want to ask about the history because the Grayslake Historical Society does a great job collecting the history of Grayslake, and I didn't want to do a repeat of that.
Yes.
I wanted to capture Grayslake in 2020, what it's like living now. So then, and I didn't have like a criteria. If I had the permission of the parents, I would interview kids also.
Okay.
Right? And then I get their perspective of it. And I didn't get like, if you've lived here all your life or if you just moved a year ago.
That's their perspective right now.
Yes.
Right at that point.
And some of them would talk about like their experience in the farmer's market because that's where I caught them. But just with that conversation or that quick paragraph, then you learn about the farmer's market. You learn that we have a farmer's market.
Right.
Right. So the whole idea was to capture these little things from different points of view. And it was particularly special in 2020 because that's also the time we had that food pantry.
Yes.
That showed up in Lake Street that had nationwide coverage. And
I didn't know a whole lot about that.
Oh, it was so great. So when the pandemic hit and there was a shortage of things, these two families put out a table, like a card table outside, and they put like toilet paper on it, non-perishables, and they're like, take what you need. In the world where people were killing each other for toilet paper, Grayslake was like,
giving it away.
Take what you need. Yes. And I'm there reading this and crying.
Yeah.
And I thought, the world needs to know about this. So people like that, I intentionally went out of my way to talk to.
Wow. You're making me look really bad right now. We're never publishing this. Never. She's a much better person than I am, just so everybody knows.
The difficulty was that some people had really great stories but did not want their photo taken. Really? And this was a visual project because I'm a photographer, so I couldn't do it. I had to have a photo with my story.
So they tell you the story, but they didn't want their photo taken.
But they didn't want their photo taken. So it never made it to the Focus on Grayslake. Wow. Now the exhibit was not something I had planned. This was meant to be a total social media thing. Okay. All right. And the Heritage Center approached me and said, hey, we like what you're doing with Focus on Grayslake. Are you willing to lend it to us to make it an exhibit? And that felt like a dream come true.
Amazing.
I said, yes. And so they pared it down. They only took 30 of the stories that we have, and they did it like a vote. The exhibit committee decided also on which stories to come up there, which they think are good representations, and then it made it up there.
So at that exhibit, there were 30 individuals that were featured, so to say, but you did not vote on those.
No, I did not. So 30 stories, because one of the stories had the story of the two families with the food pantry. Mm-hmm. I think there was, because that was two families, so it was more than one person in that story. And there was a story where there was two people that I interviewed at the same time. Okay. So there were 30 stories and 30 photos, but more than 30 people.
Wow. I'm really offended that I wasn't in this. They wouldn't have picked me anyway, but...
well, you didn't bump into me then.
This is true. I was probably getting toilet paper somewhere or something.
You're fighting somebody for toilet paper.
Exactly. So you do... So then when... I know it's really sad that our timing is horrible here because the exhibit just closed, right?
It just closed.
How long was that open?
It opened in February and it just closed 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
However, I do understand that the Heritage Center is making it available if there are communities that want to make it a traveling exhibit. Oh. So if there's a community that wants to feature some things, maybe not as big as the 30 photos, right, but like the library or schools or whatever wanted to feature it, they could lend it to them.
How many of the 125 did you get through?
I don't remember. I haven't finished it.
Oh, are you going to continue to do it?
Yeah, I want to.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to.
And if I don't get interviewed, I'm going to be really upset. I'll let you take my photo.
Wow, no pressure.
Well, that's fantastic, and I'm sure that was received by the community extremely well because it's a very interesting project.
Oh, it was wonderful. It actually surpassed my expectations. It was a personal project, so I thought this was wonderful. But opening day, I've had people come up to me in tears telling me that it's so wonderful, that It reminds them what they love about Grayslake that maybe they've forgotten, or and stories they didn't know. They had neighbors there that they never knew the stories of them. Kind of like what you're doing in this podcast, is that you said some of the people you know but didn't know certain stories.
Big time. Yeah. or what made them do the things that they do, which I think is always cool. Is the story behind the story is why do the people do the food pantry, or why do these people end up in Grayslake feeling that way?
Yes.
Like diving deep into that. So the original idea for that, were you just laying in bed one day, or was there something that sparked your interest to really?
Well, I wanted to take photos. I think the first idea of this happened, I was in Something's Brewing, and I was talking to this young mom with her kid, and we just hit off conversation. And I came home and I told my husband, it's so wonderful that I can be somewhere and people will just talk to me. Right. And it's so friendly.
That's great. You do have this like friendly aura about you, where I'm sure everybody just comes up and talks to you.
Maybe. I think they look at me and then they're like, oh, she's short. I can take her. She's not at all terrifying.
At all. Right. That's funny. So, okay, so you did that project, and we're not even going to talk about you being a photographer yet, because she may or may not be a photographer. Is there anything else before we move on about the Focus on Grayslake? I think it's such an awesome project, and if it does come out, or is that still available like online where people can view some of the things?
Yes, it is. So if you look Focus on Grayslake on Facebook, the stories are still up there.
Oh, cool. Is there anybody I know on there?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Miss Mary's there.
Miss Mary.
That's actually how I met her.
Really?
I bumped into her in Closet Traders when I was interviewing Carlene.
Yeah.
And she says, you should interview Miss Mary. So I said, okay.
And did you know Miss Mary at all?
No.
That's funny. Wow, and then you get one of the most, that's crazy.
Not only that, but she shared with me the song that she wrote for Grayslake.
Really?
And we recorded it, and it was part of the exhibit where you could hear Miss Mary sing.
No.
It was lovely.
I have to. Can I listen to that song on Facebook?
No, but you know what? I should pull that up in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yes.
See, you contributed already.
See, I'm just here to help. So the other interesting thing are we done with Focus on Grayslake?
Sure.
Okay, because we could talk about that for an entire hour.
Yes.
So and I encourage everybody to go to Facebook and look at that, because I think that's a lot of hard work and a passion project. I always like to see the work that people do just for the sake of doing it and contributing to our town.
I didn't realize how much work was going to get into that. I go, this is like a full-time job.
I think the number 125 would have made me stop. If it was like our 5th year and I had to do 5 people, that would be great. I think that would be fine. 3
or 4 people a week. That happens all the time.
Sure, it's nice and easy.
Not so much.
Nice and easy. And I know what kind of, it's hard to consume your time like that too, even if you're getting little stories like that, or finding the people. How many people said no?
A lot, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Even just to talk to you for a little bit to get a paragraph and a photo?
The photo is what stopped them, I think.
That's so weird.
They don't mind sharing the stories, but the photo stops them. Wow. And after the pandemic, it was even harder because I can't approach strangers. If I'll step forward, they step back.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to me?
Right. Please step away.
And the only thing I wanted was to make sure that they were residents of Grayslake.
Okay.
All right. So a lot of times I'll meet somebody and they live in Round Lake.
And they were here visiting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's the problem we have on here too. Sometimes we have people that maybe live right outside, but their businesses reside here. So
that's okay. I think if they work in Grayslake, they contribute to the community in a large way that they deserve a spot here.
Right. Plus, I make the rules.
There you go.
So
That's true.
The only place in my life where I get to make the rules are here. So
I set my own boundaries.
Exactly. People say, hey, read this paragraph. Maybe I meet it. Maybe I don't. I don't know.
We're taking a quick break just to say hello because everybody knows Nano, and Nano knows real estate. And actually, I believe that's the name of her Instagram page. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or know somebody in the market for a home, contact Nano from Baird & Warner. She's a Grayslake girl helping out Grayslake people.
But you are also an author.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know a little bit, just a little bit about you being an author. I know. So how many books have you written?
I've written a trilogy.
A trilogy. So 5 of them. I'm sorry. Open door.
And you failed your math teacher.
Right. That's the reason that I can't read and I haven't read the books. Okay, so first book you start writing.
Yes, so in 2020, so like you talked about earlier, I am a photographer, and in 2020 I had to shut down my business for 6 months. And I was writing for fun. I didn't really have the background for it. Mm-hmm. I'm an engineer.
Of course you are.
And the photographer, so it really isn't in literature. But that was a passion project. And in 2020, my husband tells me, you know what? You keep saying that you want to do this. Now is the time to do it because you don't really have an excuse anymore. You have the time.
Truth.
And I said, you're right. So we did the research, and it was a whole new thing because it's a different world from what you normally think. Like, there's a lot I didn't know about it. And you had interviewed Michelle Cox,
yes.
So you know about this.
Yes, a little bit. She was wonderful, by the way.
Yes.
I really enjoyed her.
So that was a different world, and in 2020 I was able to publish the first book. And I thought it was just going to be one of those things that's like a checklist, like, hey, I did it.
I wrote my book.
Yes. But it was received really well, and I had people asking me, when's the next one coming out? And I thought, I do have a next one that I can write. So the first one took about 10 years. Like, I wrote it for fun and then had to fine-tune it for publishing. Mm-hmm. But the second one, from start to finish, took a year. And I published that in 2021.
Isn't it amazing after you do something the first time, how more streamlined and all the mistakes you made beforehand? I think that's a good
Ideally, we learn from our mistakes. Ideally.
Some would think. I'm still learning every day. But that's wonderful. So it took a year for the second one.
For the second one. The third one, I thought, I take my time. I wanted it to be the end of the series. So I wanted to make sure I got the story well thought through. And that one I released early this year.
Awesome. So all three are out right now.
All three are out.
Before I ask you anything, so if I wanted to purchase your books, where would I buy them?
Oh, the first thing I'm going to say is this old book, because that is local and that's what we need to help support.
Of course.
You can find it in the library if you want to read for free.
Oh, even at the library.
Mm-hmm. And there are other indie stores that you can buy it from. There's one in Kenosha and there's one in Michigan. And you can get it in Barnes & Noble in Vernon Hills.
Wow.
But essentially online, they're anywhere where books are sold.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting process. If you listen to Michelle's podcast, like in my experience of trying to marketing a book, it is really hard, right?
It is.
And it's hard to, how do you get the first, obviously your friends will support you, but then going beyond people that have no idea who you are, mm-hmm. Whether it's word of mouth or whether it's a review that they read on something, did you find that it was hard to? Oh,
it's absolutely difficult. And my audience is young adult.
Okay.
And young adults don't like to write book reports, so they don't like to write reviews. So it's actually more difficult to get reviews for my book than it would be if I wrote an adult book.
So how do you market to the young adults?
I actually don't really know how some of them read it. A lot of them would say, the people that came up to me in my book signings to get the second book, for example, to get the book signed, says that they learned about it through a friend of theirs that read it. Okay. Which I love, because that's how I want it to be.
Correct.
I want somebody to read it and say, this is a great story, you need to read this also.
Awesome.
And so they do that.
So tell us just a short synopsis of what is it about? I know it's for young adults, but so what are the books about?
It's about this sheltered suburban teen that dreams about a troubled boy very different from herself, falls in love. Totally did not see that coming, right?
I never saw it coming. Does he tragically die at the end?
She has to decide how far she's willing to go to chase the dream.
Oh.
That's the first book.
Okay. Not to give anything away.
Not to give anything away.
Nobody dies at the end.
And the second one...
Do they run into an iceberg and the ship sinks? That's all I want to know.
There's no room in here, Jack. There's no room.
The second book.
The second book is more like a paranormal mystery. The same character. Okay. Still dreams. She starts having nightmares. So it's a paranormal mystery. And the third one is more like a monster adventure.
Awesome. How fun. How fun were those to write?
It was very fun to write. I got very involved with the characters, I think.
Wow. It sounds like your husband is a big flag waver of yours, obviously because he's your husband, but it sounds like he helped push you to do things.
Yes, he's my biggest supporter. I would not be here at all without him.
That's so wonderful.
I agree.
It's nice to have that. And without that support, I'm sure it would have been very difficult, or maybe you never would have done it.
I agree. I for sure would have never done it. I would never have thought that I had the ability to publish a book. It's interesting because you read books, and if you read a book that you really, really like, you think, how dare I think I'm capable of being on the same shelf as this person?
Sure.
But then you read a book that you don't like, and you're like, I can do better.
Well, yeah. Well, I agree with you 1,000%. I watch TV shows, and these people are multi-millionaires, and they're on TV, and they're complete idiots. And I watch TV just for the fact that I do have a chance for something.
Right.
If they can do that, and somebody's like successful in that.
And it's extremes, isn't it? It's either you doubt yourself completely and you think you're trash,
right?
Or you think that you can absolutely do anything.
Exactly. And funny enough that you say that many people that I've had on this show are like, why did you call me? I'm completely I'm not interesting. And then we get in, and then all the reviews come back of like, oh my God, I love that one. They were so interesting. Like, I can't wait to like meet that person. I want to hang out with them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
I
it's
love
fun.
that. Yeah, there's so many things that opened, like there's so many doors that opened for me in writing. I met some of my favorite people because they're also authors, and then I formed friendships. And because of that, because of all this being involved in this literature or literary world,
right.
We were able to do AuthorFest.
AuthorFest.
Yes, AuthorFest.
That was a nice transition. I like that.
Thank you.
That was very nice. You didn't even have to make me go there.
So smooth.
That's right. So tell me about AuthorFest. Sounds so interesting to me.
AuthorFest is a gathering of local authors to be able to sell and share and sign their books. But at the same time, we also had activities like there was a poetry slam, and there were a children's writing workshop. There was a children's writing contest.
Wow.
It was sponsored by This Old Book, and they encouraged children to, or rather, it's a youth creative writing contest. So they had different age groups to come in and write, and then they gave prizes and gift certificates, and then they had a whole workshop during AuthorFest. And then at the same time, they had a workshop for adults.
Interesting.
It was such a big thing. It was so successful.
I would say, how well was that received?
We had over 500 people come into our...
500?
Yes.
That's amazing.
It was amazing, especially for the very first time that we had almost 24 authors that came and sold their books. A lot of them sold out, and they had to go get more. Some of them were telling us this is the best that they've experienced in a fair, and it brought in so many people into Grayslake that didn't even know Grayslake existed. And I know that for a fact because there was a TikTok that was released. And the person that was doing the TikTok said, have you heard about Grayslake?
No way.
And she did like this video in downtown Grayslake, and she's like, how cute is this place?
Do you have any idea where she was from?
No, I don't. But I do know that she was showing the Grayslake feed store, and she goes, look at that sign. And then she went to Bakeshare and bought bakery goods because Bakeshare had sponsored something, and they had like little coupons. And every little thing, she was like, this is great. Can't wait till next year.
Wow. And then we walk around the streets like, yeah, we live here. That's just normal.
No. We go around the streets going, yeah, we live here.
That's right. Shoulders back, held up high. People do take a lot of pride in that. So, AuthorFest, who was that? Your idea? Was that someone else?
That was a project with several organizations. Actually, it was led by the Grayslake Arts Alliance in cooperation with the Grayslake Heritage Center because it was held there and in front of there. The Grayslake Chamber also helped and sponsored the sounds for that.
Nice.
The library was part of that as well, and we worked with a local NaNoWriMo, yeah. And also Village Center.
Wow. And it's cool to see a project like that when everybody gets that backs it.
It was amazing.
I think when they see something good like that, and anything, especially like that, when people see something good, they like to jump on board. And I think that's something great about our town, too, is that when people get behind you like that and they see the chamber get behind you, then somebody else will get behind you. Like, it just grows and grows.
The Grayslake Arts Alliance even did one whole tent where they were doing art-related projects that were literacy based.
Is this the same thing as mischievous?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. If anybody knows how to say mischievous or if it's mischievous,
mischievous.
Just write in somewhere and tell us how to say it.
Just write in. They'll just write in the word.
Just write in wherever. Write it in. So
it does not help.
We said we've read the word, but we don't really know how to say it. And that word did not come up about me, by the way. That was not an adjective used about me.
No, not at all.
No. Whatever you've heard, don't believe it. Okay, so the Art Alliance. So funny, after breakfast this morning, I went to Whitney Street, and then we walked over to the Heritage Center. So they were closed because they're closed Mondays and Tuesdays. But on one of the windows there was one thing about the focus on Grayslake, and then the Art Alliance was on the window there too. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and here I am, like, I don't know anything going on in the sound, and if I don't know about it, then maybe other people don't know. But the Art Alliance, can you share with us, like, what is that all about? Can people be involved in it? Is it?
Oh yes, please. The Grayslake Arts Alliance is a collaboration of artists that come together with the purpose of supporting the arts, promoting it, engagement, and education of the arts within Grayslake. So it's almost like a chamber of commerce, but for artists.
Nice.
In fact, one of our headquarters is right here in Agora.
Really?
Yes. On December 15th, we are going to announce or unveil our very first hybrid gallery here in Agora. You're invited.
Oh, am I?
Yes.
I didn't get the invitation.
It's coming.
Okay,
announcements are going to come out soon. Look, you hear it here first.
Right, exactly. And then we can share it and make sure that people come and see it.
Yes.
And what a cool place to have it.
Absolutely. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be an open house. We're also celebrating. It's like an end of the year celebration. I'm president of the Arts Alliance this year. We have a wonderful team that's brought so many things down to Grayslake. Not just in terms of, like, here's a show. We also have educational arms of it, so that the kids can have a chance to try out some artist things, and even adults. We started this thing this year called Artist Trading Cards that encourages children and adults to create their own miniature art pieces that they can trade with other artists.
They can trade with
They can
them.
trade it, yes, and they collect it, kind of like
Pokemon cards or something like that. Right?
There you go.
I know nothing about young children. I like that all these things that are focused around our youth and to bring them to stuff like arts and reading or writing or things like that, because there's not.
They're the next generation. They're going to bring it up.
Right.
And they're just going to make things better.
We hope so. As long as they get off their video games and they do everything else, that would be.
And that's a good thing about art too, because it's very hands-on.
Yes.
And imaginative. Yeah. So if we can foster that with the kids, and I always say writing is also art. It is. I say writers are artists too.
Sure.
So when you have that kind, and if you're fostering that kind of creativity, you are naturally going to bring the kids out of that. And maybe they'll bring it back into their video games. Maybe they'll create new worlds from that and reach out to other kids.
I also like it because it maybe channels something that maybe the kids haven't done that sparks interest, or says, I never thought I could do this, or they have a creative mind that they haven't had the opportunity or the right vehicle to bring that out.
Yes, absolutely. Like in one of the Arts Alliance things that we do is a Mayfest that happens the first Saturday of May every year. And it's a big art fest that we show off in the Grayslake Heritage Center. But this year we got involved with the high schools. So artists from Grayslake North and Grayslake Central were able to showcase their art there. Student art.
Awesome.
Up there with other local artists.
Wow. That's really cool. That's really cool. If you haven't noticed that Zee's involved in just a couple of things. You actually are making me feel completely like I must be bored because I have nothing to do. So when somebody asks you, they say, Zee, so what do you do for a living?
I'm a photographer, an author, and I work part-time at the Heritage Center.
Okay. Along with all these other organizations and all these other events and everything else that you put together.
Volunteer.
You can kind of summarize it together. I always tell people I do my best. And somebody says, what do you do for a living? I do my
best.
Every day, as much as I can. All right, so before we do photography, before we talk about your photography, we have to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Chris at Barbecue Productions, my buddy Chris, that we do the Grayslake Hot Seat. And last week, we actually did our first inaugural, my second list of questions that we had to bring to people, because some people are just a tad bit, they weren't irritated with me, because that would really bother me. So we do this in Barbecue Productions, and we're going to find out a little bit more about you with some quick rapid-fire questions.
I call this your how to break into your passwords hot seat questions.
Ooh.
You're like, I listened to your hot seat questions, and I was like, these are questions that they ask when you're trying to get your password.
This is well, now I'm going to change them. And I officially have the first question for you that this will probably be breaking into your passwords. Because of your spunkiness, we're going to start off with this one. So what was the name of your first pet?
See, that is totally a breakthrough question.
You have no idea. What is the name of your
I'm going to talk
pet?
about my most recent pet.
Okay, what is your recent pet?
His name is Hunter, and he was a service dog for my son.
Oh, that's right. This is terrible that we're going to put these together, because you don't know where I'm going right now. Let's wait, and we're going to talk about Hunter when we're done, okay?
Okay.
So, Hunter, and what is the name of the street that you grew up on?
These are password questions. You can't ask this.
I know.
Constellation.
Hunter Constellation. So, that would be your porn star name, just so you know. You didn't see that coming, sorry. But I know that there's people listening right now that goes, no, he's not going to do that.
That's an awful name.
Hunter Constellation.
I will not get any money with that.
Do not Google that tonight. If you had to have a superpower, what would it be?
To shrink. Okay, here's why. I have a reasoning for this.
You just said that you were short.
I know, but think about it, right? Like, if you have an awesome cookie, right? And you can shrink, how much longer will that cookie last?
I think that you are probably the most intelligent person I've ever met in my life. Wow. Okay, shrinkability. Wow. I have so many places to go there, but I'm trying to stay appropriate and not make any cold water jokes at all. Name up. She's not leaning back in her chair laughing silently. Name a place that you'd like to travel that you've never been.
New Zealand.
Did you study these? Your favorite, New Zealand. Your favorite TV show growing up.
Star Trek.
Funniest person you know.
My husband.
Awesome. Your first car.
A Volkswagen.
Wow. Do you have a hidden talent?
No.
Yeah, because you do everything. Because you're a show-off and you do everything.
Why hide it?
Right, exactly.
You know?
Let the world enjoy it. Just let the world enjoy it. If you had to have a podcast, what would your subject matter be?
Grayslake. Oh, wait, you're doing that. Thanks.
Yeah, I already stole your idea with Focus on Grayslake. And actually, one of them, if you had to write a book, what would it be about? But apparently we know.
You know, you can check it out.
Monsters and...
I have a new one that's going to come up next year.
Really? What is that going to do? Can we say what it's going to be about?
It's going to be about second-generation Philippine immigrants and the monster that they have to fight.
Really? Are you being serious? I don't know.
That is. But you're going to learn a lot about the Philippine culture through it.
Okay. I'm not even going to ask what the monster is. Wow. Okay. Do you have a nickname?
Yes. Zee. Oh, my name is my nickname.
Your name is?
The name that you know is my nickname.
Oh, okay. So what is your full name?
Zarina.
Zarina?
Yes.
Okay. See, I learned something today. Would the 12-year-old version of yourself think that you're cool?
Yes. The 12-year-old version of myself would not believe how far I've come.
That's awesome. You should feel good about that. Tell me something that you'd wished you've learned sooner.
Not everybody has good intentions.
Boom. If you're an animal, what would you be?
Ooh, a koala.
Wow. Because you like to sleep
And eat.
and eat. Okay. Having the whole shrinking thing with the giant cookie. Sorry. Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
No.
Have you ever eaten a roller dog or roller food from a gas station?
Yes.
What was it?
A roller dog.
A roller dog?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the roller dog, depending what gas station you're at.
Quick Trip.
Yeah, see? Quick Trip. I was at like 6 of them last week. It's beautiful. What is your middle name?
Lorna.
All right. If you had to have a theme party at your house, what would it be?
Star Trek.
Trekkie. From 1 to 10.
Plus, I have the uniform already, so...
Yeah, she's wearing the pointed ears right now, too. If you had to have we did a theme party. From 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
6. I will not drive downtown Chicago.
Okay, good. Stay away from Z. Did you play a sport or in a club in high school?
Basketball.
You're a basketball player.
I was a point guard.
I was going to say, were you a center? Were you good?
No.
Okay, where did you go to high school at?
In the Philippines.
Oh, okay, it's right down the road. So
Hop, skip, and a jump away.
yeah, and a good swim too. So from 1 to 10, 10 being the most likeliest, what do you think the chances that Bigfoot exists?
10.
See, you're like only you and Miss Mary are the only ones that got this.
She's smart.
Right. I have a 6-foot Sasquatch in my yard, and you think you asked me that question. Your favorite Grayslake event?
Authorfest.
All right. Good answer. If you had to go out for a cocktail or have some food to go out in Grayslake to like watch a sporting event or go somewhere, where would you go to?
I don't watch sports.
All right. So if you were to go out for a cocktail in Grayslake, where would you go? I don't drink.
The Vine. Oh, I drink.
Okay. Apparently, what do you think we did for the first half hour before we started recording? Nobody knows that at all. What is your favorite podcast if you've listened to one of mine?
Joyce Campbell.
She's just awesome.
I actually don't know her, so when I listened to that, I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, and I wish she was still around here because more people could get to know her, personally anyway. When you eat a taco, do you tilt your head to the left or to the right? She's doing it. She's
Left.
Left. I figured that about you. If you
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
Just by sitting here, you should know that it's just ridiculous.
Leprechaun.
If you had to dress up like a mascot, what would you pick?
A mascot of?
Of anything. Maybe they're a sports team or just a mascot of a...
Can I just wear my Star Trek uniform?
Yes, we're just gonna. The answer is Star Trek. No matter what. Do you have a favorite late night snack?
Pizza.
Favorite vacation you've ever taken?
Paris.
Paris. And this one is awesome for you. So, favorite childhood book?
The Little Prince.
Oh, interesting. And last but not least, if you had to bring a famous person to Grayslake, where would you take them in Grayslake, and why would you do that?
The Grayslake Heritage Center and Museum.
Really?
Yes.
In your Star Trek uniform?
Obviously.
Okay.
It's an away mission.
It's an away mission. You are too funny. Okay, it's fun, and I love how much you love the Heritage Center too, because I think it's just, actually my buddy and I, Steve, were going to go over there today because he'd never been in there, and we were just wanting to go and walk through because he didn't know anything about it, so we're going to make a visit over there to check everything out.
I do get visitors from the Philippines and from other states, and that's actually one of the first places I really go to.
Really? Mm-hmm. And are they like, wow, or this?
They love it.
Do they really?
They do. They love, first of all, they have that permanent gallery that talks about the history of Grayslake, and they love going through that. And then the Heritage Center has rotating exhibits, like the Focus on Grayslake was a rotating exhibit. Mm-hmm. So then they go through that and they learn about that. And if the director, Michelle Poe, or the deputy director, Katie is there, they'll tell them even more stories. And then there's the annex too, with all the big stuff. So it's a lot to show.
It's a lot to show. Mm-hmm. Wow, and it's cool because I probably don't know half of the things that are in there too. So let's go back to dog, which I already forgot the name of your dog. I'm sorry.
Hunter.
Hunter. All right. So Hunter is a service dog. Okay. So I know nothing about why you have a service dog. So tell me the story about Hunter, because it sounds like a wonderful story.
My son has special needs, and he needed a service dog when he was younger for more independence. So we got Hunter, and he was originally from Naperville. So that was a long drive that we had to drive every Monday for training for a year to train him properly, because they pair you with the dog. That's how it starts. Not every single dog is going to be paired right away with the person. Like, we've had some failed pairings first. You have to make sure that temperament-wise it works out. So we had a couple of failed pairings, and then we pair with Hunter. And then we come back for a year. We take Hunter home, and then for a year we come back every Monday for training. And then he gets certified. So with service dogs, they train them specifically to the person that's going to be using the dog. So not service dogs can be used for if you have epilepsy, right? Or they can be used when you're blind, which is what everybody knows for more service dogs. And then with my son, he has brittle bone disorder. So the dog makes sure that he doesn't fall, and to make sure that he has more balance. And if he's in a wheelchair, he picks things up from the floor. He opens doors for him.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. And if the dog comes up to us without our son, then we know we need to follow the dog, and our son needs our help.
I'm blown away right now.
He's an incredible, incredible dog. And he's had him from fourth grade all the way up until sophomore year, when he had this major surgery, and we decided that was the time to retire Hunter. So Hunter became a pet. So he went from being a service dog that was working all the time to a household pet that suddenly does not understand sit and stay.
Right. I mean, do you have like an exit interview with the dog? You have to sit down and be like, this is how we're transitioning. From now on, you can have fun. You're not...
It was the first day that Hunter stayed home and our son went to school. And for whatever reason, Hunter was like, oh, fine. And he was relaxed after that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he would still stay with our son every time our son was home, and they would always still stay together. But he was much more relaxed. We lost him this year.
Oh, I'm
so it was very, very sad. It was really hard for our family. But he was an amazing dog and a hard act to follow.
Wow. And talking about, people losing pets, and they, talk about losing a family member, like you really did.
Yeah, it was really, really rough, because my husband and I joked that we spent more time with the dog than we did with our kids, because every time we spent time with our kids, the dog was there. And then when the kids went to school, the dog was with us. So we actually spent more time with the dog than we did with our kids.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, what a blessing to be able to have Hunter there, and that's like a...
Yeah, it really opened up the world for our son. With his condition, it was difficult because he couldn't find independence. Yeah. He had to be with an adult all the time. But once he had Hunter, then he could venture on his own. And it's hard because that's the kind of independence that toddlers experience. And he didn't experience it until he was fourth grade.
Interesting.
So it's a delay that you have to consider, socially, etiquette, learning. So it really affects a lot of things. So he really opened the world, and it made it was much more relaxing for us also, because as long as Hunter was with him, it would be like he can walk into a crowd and not worry about falling, because normally if a kid's walking there, you're not going to part.
Right.
But if you see a dog, you kind of like step away. So he always has an area to walk. And if somebody comes up to him, he'll barricade.
Really?
Yeah, he was a barricading dog, a bracing dog. It was amazing.
Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. That had to change your guys' whole family dynamic, and for parenting especially, because I know it's really hard to do that.
And there was so much fur. He was a golden retriever. There was fur everywhere. But the dog made it to Disney World.
Really?
Yeah, we went to Florida twice with that dog.
That's awesome. That is really cool. Wow. Okay, and without Hunter, you wouldn't have been able to do things like that.
Exactly.
So you're able to give your son a ton of different opportunities.
Yes, and now that he's technically an adult, right, and he's more independent, he's grown out of it, and it's to the point where he's okay.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Wow, what a great story. And I'm sorry, except for you losing your dog.
We're glad he came in our lives.
Right. Well, you're blessed to have that. for sure. I find it very amazing that all the things that you've done, and I want to talk about photography, since you're an engineer. And
it makes total sense, right?
Author. How do you, with photography, because I have a lot of friends that are into photography, and my favorite thing to know is, how do you, fall in love with photography?
There's a lot of talented photographers here.
We have a lot of talented photographers here. So how do you start that?
I was in high school when I enjoyed it, and I remember my dad telling me that's a very expensive hobby you have there. Mm-hmm. It was still film back then. Right. And in university, I was doing that, got the camera, went to workshops. It really was just a hobby. And when I took up engineering, I remember my dad telling me it was a waste of time because I should take fine arts instead. Something I will never tell my children.
Well, it seems like fine arts has done well for you, but you continue with engineering.
No, I did. I graduated engineering, mechanical engineering, and I did work in the field for a few years in plastics manufacturing. And when I had my kids, I couldn't take care of twins at the same time, going full-time second shift at a manufacturing plant. So I said, I'm going to quit for now.
Okay.
And I'll just focus on my children, but if I want money in the meantime, look what I did there.
Right. Great composition.
I thought, if I'm going to get money for the sake of getting money, it might as well be something that I like to do, something for fun. So I applied for a job at a studio. And I remember having so much fun. I was telling my dad, I don't think I'm going back to engineering. And my dad said, see, I told you.
How parents are right sometimes, right?
Yes. And so I worked there for a while, and my brother was actually the one that encouraged me to start my own business and branch out. So I did. And Zee Shots Photography started in 2008.
2008.
Yes. So it's been a while.
Yes. Okay, so where did you open that studio at? You had a studio that you went to?
I did not, no. Okay. I did everything I still do that. I do everything on location.
Okay.
So one of the things that I loved, or what I learned when I was doing studio photography, is that children are very intimidated by a studio. They walk in, there's no windows, it's an odd place. It's harder to get them in their natural element.
Amen.
So I wanted to do everything on location because when there's an open field or a comfortable place, they really smile.
They do.
And that's what I want to capture. I want to capture the genuine smiles, the genuine laughter, that kind of look. Because my whole goal with Zee Shots Photography was that you'll look at it and you'll remember the good times, not how difficult your session was.
Oh, I have pictures of my kid in studios where I'm actually the best pictures of them crying. Because it's hard to do.
It's intimidating for the kids. They're not comfortable. So I wanted to make sure that I captured them in a more comfortable area, which is why I did things on location instead.
No, that's good. So is it family photography? Is it children photography? Is it event photography? What is...
I was doing family photography and event photography. This year is the last year I'm doing wedding photography.
Okay.
But everything else we kind of do.
Right. What's your favorite thing to shoot?
Kids.
Kids by themselves, kids with family?
Kids by themselves.
Right. What age, though, when you say kids? Because now we're talking, do you do newborn photography?
Newborn photography is great, but I do like the toddlers, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds.
Yes.
They're so innocent and they're so real. They're not faking anything. If they're faking something, it's adorable.
Right. Because it's not blatant at all.
I'm crying, really. And it's just fun. And that's the years that I think go by really quickly because you're so busy parenting, you don't get to enjoy that so much.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to capture that.
And looking back, some of the favorite photos I have of even my older kids are at that age. And I have an almost 7-year-old now, and still the photos from him a couple of years ago, I look and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell happened?
You don't remember those things.
They're just great.
Yes. So I like doing that, and I like teaching photography.
So you teach photography as well?
We do. We used to have, I don't know if I'm going to do it this year, next year, but we have Summer Shots, which is a week-long photography camp for kids.
Okay.
And it comes from middle school up until high school. Because think about it, there are kids that do sports.
Right.
right? There are kids that do theater.
Right.
There are kids that do band. And all of those things, there's always an opportunity for them to say to their family and friends, come see me do the thing I'm doing.
Right. There's a concert, a recital, anything, a game, whatever.
Exactly. But then the artsy kids, the photographers, they don't really have that chance to be like, look what I've done. Mm-hmm. Look what I'm interested in. So in Summer Shots, we teach them how to use a camera on manual mode.
Right.
Then we go on a field trip and they take these pictures and then we open an exhibit with their photos for sale.
Interesting.
So they get to sell their photos. They get half the money because we have to pay for the printing.
Somebody has to.
It's a real life thing, but they get to sell their stuff, and they come home feeling so accomplished. Plus, they got to show off their things.
Yeah.
So we had kids that would come back over up until they age out, which is adorable. And all the kids that go through that know how to use their cameras better than their parents.
Oh, for sure. I'm certain of that, especially now cameras are not the easiest thing to use either. When you take them out for that first shot on manual mode, with all your classes you've done over the years, do you take them all to the same spot? Is it nature stuff? Is it town stuff? Is it city stuff?
No, I had to move around because I would have return students. So I can't do the same place over and over again. And I did that. We went to like Botanic Gardens, we went to Van Payton Woods, and then we went to downtown Chicago. We went to another city. So then we went to the zoo.
That's great.
Right. So that way they have different experiences taking different things.
I bet you can tell a lot about the kid from after seeing the photos, how two people can sit next to each other at the same place and everybody has a completely different perspective.
Absolutely. And I love their choices also because they're very confident in their choices.
Yeah.
When you're that age, you look at something and you say, and the teacher tells you these are how the settings are done, and you don't have the cynicism of the world yet to think, okay, this is what I have to do. You have that childhood wonder of, well, what if I do it this way?
Right.
And they come up with such creative things.
Interesting. That must be very rewarding as well.
It is. I like teaching best.
How long have you been doing that?
Almost as long as Zee Shots. I think we started it in 2010, maybe. We started it because one of my clients had said, hey, do you give lessons? And one of my other clients said that, hey, I gave my husband a camera for his birthday, but he doesn't have time to go to CLC. He doesn't have time to look on YouTube. It's so complicated. Right. So I also do one-on-one sessions. Usually those are adults.
I could see that too. And I'm sure that even from 2008 or 2010 into 2023, the people that actually want to learn the art of using a camera, other than these beautiful phones we have that'll take photos like crazy, like a lot of people say, well, why do I need a photographer? Why do I need this? I can take these beautiful photos on here. And I have 1,000 examples that I can tell them why, because I shoot video and not so much photography, but it is an art, and it's something that most people don't know how to do.
But I do encourage you to take photos. I do encourage everybody to continue taking photos. Whether or not you're a professional photographer, you should take photos. It's a great way to capture memories.
It is.
But one of my students, even a few of my students, but one of them in particular was one of my very first students, now has her own photography business.
How cool is that?
I know, it's wonderful. And then she'll say, hey, Z, you remember this? And then she'll post pictures of when she was learning things in Summer Shots.
That's awesome.
So it also makes me feel very, very old.
Yes, anytime we do that, believe me. Yeah, from all the stuff I've done, and then you're like, what are they doing? I taught that kid how to do what? And now they're...
How are they adults already?
Right. I wonder that about my own children. So when you did those classes, how many would be in them?
The first one, I only had 8 kids.
Okay, so did you limited it to a certain amount?
To 10. 10 was the maximum. Otherwise, I won't be able to give them the attention that I want to be able to give them.
Right. One of the most fun things I did a couple of years ago, which I know that these kids are older now, I don't even know how many years ago, but we did like a drone photography class.
Oh, fun.
But and then they learned how to fly a drone, but it was cool to watch them learn how to fly a drone, and a good drone that was easy to fly.
Yeah.
But to actually look at the perspective of things, because after you shoot drone photography, you never look at anything else the same way.
And it's an opportunity that not everybody gets to have. So to be able to have that is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Good for you.
It made me nervous as hell, though, let me tell you. And having their parents, luckily I knew their parents very well, so they sign off and be like, okay, how do we get that? And having the kids see the pictures they took after.
If you lose an eye, it's not me.
Right, exactly. That's it. Leave it over there, but having like 3 drones in the air at the same time and trying to monitor younger, not super younger kids. But if my insurance company is listening to this, we probably did not do that. But it was fun to do, and we did a very safe area.
Good.
We were trained, and yes, we all were everything that we had to do. Okay, so you do a ton of stuff. It's not like you're if you had to narrow down, so you're still going to be writing. You're still doing photography, and I can't wait. Do you have any kind of exhibit or anything on the horizon, or a goal of something that you'd really like to do? Because you look like you lay in bed at night and you come up with these ideas, and you're just waiting for the time to implement them to make them into something cool.
I am concerned for the end of the year. We've got the tree lighting that's coming up.
Yep.
So the Grayslake Arts Alliance has a holiday show, a holiday fine art show that happens in Village Hall.
Good to know.
And so we are making sure that we've got all our ducks in a row for that. And then we have our unveiling happening in December. So that's all my attention right now.
Okay, so the unveiling of
the hybrid
yes.
gallery that's happening here in Agora.
Okay, so hybrid meaning that it's online and?
Yes, so
okay.
It's going to be here hung in person. So if you want to see the artwork in person, you just come over here. If you want to buy it, you can buy it online.
So do you have to have somebody here all the time for that? Will there be certain hours for that, or will it just be open?
There could be hours, just like the regular hours for Agora.
Wow.
But they can see it online after hours.
See? And then they'll be so intrigued that they have to come here to actually see it.
Exactly.
I
We
love
love
it.
partnerships.
No, exactly. And these people here are so cool. Luke is just a great dude. He is, and he's been so kind to all of us to help.
He's a credit to the community.
He really is. The one thing I forgot, and then and then I'll make sure that there's nothing that I missed on you. Tell me about the Grayslake flag. See, I have little spies out looking at you, trying to figure out the Grayslake flag. Like, these are random stuff I hear that I like go into an interview and I'm like, what?
I'm impressed. See, I was actually preparing for you to ask me who you should interview next.
Okay.
And I was going to come up and say, you should interview my husband John and ask him about the flag.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the flag a little bit first. Is it something you guys did you do it together? Was it?
We did. So in 2020, for the 125th, they decided they were going to redo the Grayslake flag because nobody actually knew the history of the Grayslake flag that it was originally. And nobody knew
no idea
the significance.
About the Grayslake flag. Educate us, please.
It was an image of, and a silhouette, actually, of a cowboy, I think, on a bucking horse.
Really?
Yes, and there was like, we can't tell, somebody joked that it was a slice of orange next to him, or a wheel.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then there were like 2 arrows, and it said Grayslake on it.
Okay.
So people weren't sure what it essentially represented or who even created it. And so the village decided that on the 125th was going to be a good time to redo the flag. So they opened it up to the Grayslake Arts Alliance, actually, and invited people to submit their ideas for it. So my husband and I at that time, we were like, that's great, we should look into this,
right.
Not realizing what goes into creating a flag. So we had to learn vexillology. I'm not saying this right, but it is the study of flags, and watched all sorts of YouTube things on flag symbolism and everything, and realized we might be in over our heads, but we worked on this. And originally we were going to do 2 separate images.
Okay.
Right? So he had an idea of one, I had an idea of another, and we did that. And then we wrote an artist statement of what they symbolize.
Okay.
And then we submitted it. And they liked the version that kind of merged 2 things.
All right.
So we reworked it more to what they had wanted and stuff. Originally,
So the one that you created one and your husband created one?
Yes.
Okay. So
originally, there wasn't even Grayslake written on the flag that we made because you're not supposed to have letters on the flag.
Did not know that.
Right.
That's like the Jeopardy question. What is the study of flags? And the answer is?
What is vexillology?
Thank you. Very mischievous.
I'm saying that
very
completely incorrectly.
Answer.
There's a V in it and an X.
I didn't know that that's even existed. Okay, so they merged the two designs together.
Merged designs together, and then we wrote the artist statement for it. And it's a very symbolic flag.
Wow. Okay, and then where is that? Is the flag? See, that shows what I pay attention to. So where is it flying right now?
It's flying in Village Hall.
Okay.
In Grayslake Heritage Center, in the Veteran Circle, or it's there. And actually, if you go to the police station, it's there. It's on all our police cars.
Really?
It is.
Yeah, they're always behind me, chasing me, so I never see any of the others.
The one from behind them, right?
Exactly. I know there's a nice one in the back seat. That's all I know. Couldn't get my hands on it, though. Wow, so that's an honor.
It is.
Wow.
And we love being a part of Grayslake's history because of that.
Yeah.
We were like, it's incredible.
So that's your guys' flag that you made. So it's immortalized that it's not a cowboy in an orange slice. Did you ever find out what that was about?
No. I do know that when the flag was first flown in the Heritage Center for the ceremony and the mayor had it brought up, I was in tears and I thought, look how wonderful Grayslake is, giving a couple of immigrants this place in history.
Wow. Congratulations. That's a big honor to have that.
Thank you.
I think that's really, really cool. So the question I wanted to ask you too, because that was like great. I saw Grayslake flag on here, and I went, "How did we not talk about that?" I'm sure we have like 1,000 other things.
We covered quite a bit, actually.
Exactly, and I have the Library Foundation on here. Grayslake Arts Alliance, the writers group. You're involved in all kinds of stuff. So what do you do in your free time?
Free time?
Right, exactly. What is that?
I've heard of such a thing.
So how long have you lived in Grayslake then?
8 years.
8 years. When did you come here from the Philippines? Were you a child?
2000.
In 2000?
Yes.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Manila.
Okay. And then you come here in 2000. Why did you guys come here?
Got married.
Oh, nice. And how do you settle in Grayslake?
Good schools.
But you don't come from the Philippines and say,
no, so originally...
let's go to Grayslake.
No,
they have a terrible flag
there. we can make our place in history.
Yes.
No, we first were in Schaumburg, and then Round Lake. And then Round Lake, I think I was actually in Grayslake schools.
Right.
And then we moved to Beach Park, which is further up north. And then when it came to the time when we were buying a house, my husband was giving me ideas of which houses are nice, and I kept saying, I'm not familiar with their school district. And he goes, okay, how about we narrow it down? You tell me what a good school district is, and I'll look at houses there. How about that?
He's a smart dude. I like him. I got some questions. Maybe he can lead me in the right direction.
So we did that, and I remember because, like I said, we have a kid with special needs, and it's a very special school district to be able to raise to that challenge, especially because his condition is what they call an orphan condition. It's not common.
Okay.
Right? It's unique. There's very few people that have that. And so the accommodations that you need for this might not be something that you're familiar with at all. So it's a new challenge. And for a school district to say, what do you need? How can we help him? And then to come up with a plan to maximize that is difficult to find. And before we moved here, we met with the school district in District 46. Yeah. And their attitude was, what else have we got?
That's awesome.
And we were like, normally we go places and we feel like we're a burden.
Right.
And here they were like, no, we got this.
Open arms.
We got this. And we thought, okay, this is great. And we were walking downtown. We bumped into a couple. An older couple who asked if we were looking for a place to eat, and we said actually yes, and they said you should go to Whitney's. So we went to Whitney's, and they introduced us to the server like they knew us. And then we sat there, and then the server started to get to know us, started asking questions. She says, oh, you're a photographer? And some guy walks in, I can't remember, and then she goes, hey, she's a photographer too. The two of you should get together. I'm like, we were there 10 minutes.
You're home.
That's what we felt. We felt very, very welcome here, and we thought this was a great place to live, and we're right.
That is awesome.
We think so too.
Awesome. It's great. And all the stuff you're doing, I tip my hat to, because you're helping out our community. You're helping out kids. You're helping, bring a lot of these arts and everything from children to adults too. And congratulations on your new book. When is the new book coming out?
Sometime next year.
Sometime next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to encourage everybody to make sure to go. So do you write under your name?
Yes.
Okay, you do write under your name. Okay. So people can find that. But you should buy it at This Old Book. What you're trying to say.
I encourage that, yes.
Excellent.
Go buy it in This Old Book.
Yeah, see, this is a funny interview, too, because if I had to give somebody a call to action at the end of this on what they should do of what we've talked about, it's really kind of hard what I would tell them to do, except for get involved. I think you're an inspiration for people to do some great stuff to inspire other people around them, and use your time to help our community out too, and be creative, right?
Right.
And get our kids involved in being creative.
Right, and every little thing helps. And even like in the Arts Alliance, for example, even if you're not an artist but you appreciate the arts, you can join, and it helps. Just attending things. So many people here in Grayslake come up to me and they go, "We don't know what's going on in Grayslake," and we're like, it's everywhere. You just go and you look, and there's posters that tell you what's going on. You go online, it tells you what's going on, and you just attend a few of these things, you're going to get involved.
Yes, and I encourage everybody to get involved. And we had interviews with the chamber, interviews with everybody, every association, every school, every community, everywhere needs help. Right?
There's a lot of times I go, this is not a paying job. Why am I doing this? And then I remember the relationships I've made because of this, and I remember it's worth it.
Right, and you meet like-minded people as well.
Yes.
That are willing to give their time to actually for a better cause.
Yes.
Or to help other people out.
Absolutely.
So I commend you on all that.
Thank you.
Anything else we want to talk about before we sign up?
I think we have bored everybody to death.
I don't think that is. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of great feedback. Thank you for being here. I want to encourage everybody, like I do at the end of every episode, no matter what platform you're listening on, make sure to slam that subscribe button, make sure that you know every time a new episode's coming out. But they are available. I always think I'm stupid telling people where these are available at, because if they're listening to me, they've obviously found it. But subscribe, whether it's here or YouTube, to make sure that you know what's coming out. Support our local community. And I will end, and who should we have on the podcast now?
You should still interview my husband.
Okay, we still can. We still can. Anybody else from the community that I don't know about that you think somebody would be like, Dave, you don't know who I know, but...
What are your rules?
None. Whatever I decide. No, just interesting people. My one goal is that I really have a couple people that have lived here forever. They don't run a business. They've lived here. They've seen the town change. Those are the people that I really want to get a perspective of, somebody that's lived here their entire life, which I have a lot of people on my list.
Have you lived here your entire life? I
have.
Then you should know everybody.
I know the last 51 years of people.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I know them. It's just a matter of getting them to talk, because once again, many people don't think that their story is important. Many people don't think that they have a lot to contribute, when if they got to sit down with some of these people to spread that word across everywhere, there's so many interesting people.
I agree.
And I think that's another thing for anybody listening. Know that your story is just as important as the next too, and make it more fun. So go take
you don't
chances.
know who you're going to reach, You
never know.
Yeah.
You never know, and that's why you say yes. I think Miss Mary said that too. Just say yes for whatever opportunity you can. So anyway, we're going to end it because I promised I only end every episode 7 times. So thank you. And you're going to go to This Old Book, and you're looking for Zee Lacson.
Yes.
And that is and then get photography from her.
And you're looking for the Wool Gathering series.
Okay, that's hilarious. Okay, it's the Wool Gathering series?
Wool Gathering trilogy.
But it's not WOLL like my name. It's funny that my last name is Wool. And I like gatherings. So think of Wool Gatherings.
Yeah, because apparently Wool Gathering means daydreaming.
It means what?
Daydreaming.
Daydreaming.
Yes, when you're a wool gatherer, you're a daydreamer. And my books are all about dreams. So it's called the Wool Gathering Trilogy.
Wow.
And the first one is Reverie, the second one is Revenant, and the third one is Reveille.
Okay. Just when we thought we had enough. But that's fantastic. So those are the books that they're going to be looking for.
Now we're going to end it for the 8th time.
For the 8th time. And I will be having a party at my house, and it's be called the Wool Gathering. So if you've been to a wool gathering, I suggest that you go into this old book and buy the entire trilogy of the wool gatherings, which are not stories of parties I've had. Those would be found in a different section, by the way. So, anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And we will see everybody next Tuesday.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you, everyone.